Okay, everybody. So welcome again. That was my former me saying welcome to you. And how here's my current me on what is the date here? April 26th, 2025, saying welcome also to all of you to watch the Obsession True Crime. And tonight we are going to be talking about the tragic case in death and life of Madeline Soto and the person that has been arrested and charged with multiple counts of having CSAM material related to this crime, which was ultimately the death of Madeline Soto, which he is also being charged with and is facing capital punishment in Florida for those charges. There are going to be two separate court events handling the CSAM aspect of this, and then also the murder of sweet little Madeline Soto. So this is definitely a very difficult case to talk about. I just want all of you to know that I have been following this case so very closely all along, since it happened, since they arrested Stephan Sterns, and especially recently when there's been some things going on regarding the cases against Stephan Sterns. And we are going to go over that. I personally have not been covering this case a lot on this channel because, as some of us were chatting about in the chat just prior to this live stream starting, this is really heavy material. There's a trigger warning that goes throughout. It is very difficult stuff to talk about, but it is so important, both in the sense of finding justice for sweet little Madeline Soto and also just spreading awareness about these kind of horrific crimes that do happen, sometimes right under the nose of people either who are being complicit or sometimes, I want to say in more rare cases, but statistically, I do not know that for sure. And we like to be fact based here, but sometimes, under the nose of people who truly do not know what's going on. So to open up, I just want to play a little clip from the channel Surviving the Survivor. And the host, Joel, here is talking about how he too is hesitant to cover this case. Now, he is somebody, he used to be a host on Fox News. He actually goes out and usually when he covers the trial, we'll go to the trial, cover it live. But he was just talking about his hesitation to cover this case whatsoever. And then he handed it over to somebody who was on his panel. And I think this really speaks to something that a lot of us feel about this case in cases like that and just the heaviness of true crime in general. So let me just bring that into the stream for you, play that for you, and then we will get into the prepared material I have for you, and then the discussion of what's going on with Stephan Sterns now, the case against him, and also a comparison of the things that Stephan Sterns and Madeline Soto's mother had to say about what happened that night and the clear script that they were both speaking from when they were doing interviews with the news or law enforcement, whoever it may be, and what that means about this crime, who was involved, and justice for Madeline Soto.
I sort of am very interested in this case, but what is your advice? We talked about the family. What about people who are interested in watching a trial like this, who are following this case? This is as depraved, awful, and horrible and terrible as it gets. I dare you. Now that I'm a free man, I don't have to cover this, but I sort of am very interested in this case. But what is your advice? We talked about the family. What about people who are interested in watching a trial like this, who are following this case? This is as depraved, awful, and horrible and terrible as it gets in one trial. What is your advice to people who are interested in following it? Maybe next to Karen Reed. That's a joke. Sorry. Karen Reed is not Go ahead, buddy.
I love that nobody wants you to cover Karen because it's a mess. People always ask me this: how can I do this, and how can I focus on this type of work after what happened to my daughter? Well, it's because it's what I.
Now, I do just want to say that earlier in this podcast, this woman who's an attorney and an advocate explained that her daughter was a victim of SA and right under her nose. Now, she compares herself a little bit to Jenn Soto, saying that she was a protective mother who truly and lovingly watched over her daughter, but it was a man who she was married to right in her own house that was assaulting her very own daughter. I can't imagine what it must be like to talk about cases like this for her.
I do. And you have to separate somebody has to do it. And I'm really good at this. I'm really good because I actually not only have the professional expertise, but then I have a very unique lens as a mother, as a woman. I can get all the feels with other women. And I tend not to criticize those who said I didn't know, because I'm telling you, I didn't. Hell, I'm from New Jersey, Joel. You know, I am a straight up Jersey girl, gangster person. But what I would say to your audience and those that want, this trial is horrific, like any other trial, and particularly because it involves a very young girl who was trusting and who did not have anyone to protect her. If you want to stay involved and know the outcome of this case, I say take it in small bites. Be slow to anger with the defense and the prosecution, because this is a learning journey. These cases are very unique in and of itself. Joel, I know you have the babies like many of my, our folks on here. When you have children and when you know children, I did a TEDx talk about my case. And if you all go, this is not a plug for me, but if you listen to my TEDx talk, I actually say, do you have children and do you know a child? All of us do. And it is incumbent upon all of us, even when it is painful, and especially as parents, to see the warning signs, to get to understand them, to understand the process. So while we might be mad, if we know what is happening, if we have an understanding, we can go from being mad to empowered and empower others. We can become a support system for others who may be going through things that is hard for them to talk about. Take this case in small bites. Learn, listen, and learn. Sometimes we listen to respond instead of listening to learn and hear. And I think that's what's important. We have an opportunity to change from the inside out because we become more aware of things that are going on. And yes, she absolutely had no protection. The mom should have protected her more, but we can tell our children what to look for. We can tell others what to look for. We can then identify what we see, what we suspect, and act accordingly. But we can't do anything if we are constantly on the run from the things that are really happening in our world today. Not all of us should be immersed, but we should all be educated and empowered so we can change the circumstances of those who are vulnerable, who are victimized, and who cannot do for themselves. So Joel, you have the best guess, not even talk.
Okay, so I mean, I just think that was remarkably well said. I'm so grateful for what she had to say there. I think, what more can I say about that? So that is the importance of talking about this case and, talking about it even when it is something really difficult to talk about, something difficult to think about. My stance in this case is just thinking about the life of Madeline Soto and how nobody protected her. We've talked before on this channel, we've discussed this case a while ago. The Madeline Soto was a little girl who was really never seen and heard in this life. And it just really is so sad and so tragic for her. And as we learn the details of what she went through in her short life for so many years regarding the abuse that she suffered by the hands of Stephan Sterns, under the roof of her own home, when she was supposed to be protected in her own home by her mother, and she wasn't. It's just about as hard as it gets. And welcome, Amanda. I just saw you happen to come in, and welcome to everybody coming in. Please do hit like, share the link, help get those notifications out. And regarding, just catching up a little bit in what we have learned about the case against Stephan Sterns, I'm just going to bring in a little bit of a stream from Plunder because she has been covering this case so very well. So we're just going to hear what she has to say about that because I couldn't have possibly got this together and said it any better.
I just received it today from Florida. Let's talk about.
So she's talking about some lab results that she received is a FOIA request that she has been getting directly from the courts in Florida. And she's also going to talk a little bit about what happened most recently in the case against Stephan Sterns in court. And this is just a few days ago.
Stephan Sterns and his lawyer losing big time their bid to keep delaying his trials. We're going to have a big 3-hour motion suppressions hearing to watch tomorrow. But let's talk about today, Earth Day, my birthday, by the way. Isn't it funny how Stephan Sterns' Judge Keith Karsten, he keeps calling him Stephen. I called him Stephen the other video, but every single time in court.
And I just want to say, if I pronounce his names wrong, what I have to say about Stephan, whatever his name is, what his name, I don't give a fuck how you're supposed to pronounce it. If he was a victim or even if he was a person who wasn't him, I would care about being respectful enough to pronounce his name right. But regarding Stephan, whatever his name is, Sterns, we don't give a fuck on this channel. Thank you.
We'll watch the court hearing coming up. It was pretty short today, but he keeps calling him Stephen, and it kind of makes me laugh. But most of all, I love how this judge understands the maxim that justice delayed is justice denied. So he is helping move along this process for Madeline Soto to get her justice against this man who harmed her for so many years, as is alleged in these two cases. There's the CSAM case, there's the murder case. And the judge isn't falling for any tricks that the defense tried to pull today. I mean, I don't know if it's a trick. I shouldn't call it that, but it was weird. It was mysterious. Even the judge was like, wait a minute, it's a secret and you want me to rule on this and delay this hearing for some secret good cause that you can't even tell me? So his lawyer and Stephan lost big time in court today. We're going to talk about that hearing win for the prosecution and this new bedroom number 4 laboratory report I received today. At first I read it wrong and my heart just sank, but then I kind of correctly read it, and then it leaves us even with more questions. We'll get to that at the end. We know bedroom number 4 was that famous bedroom that Jennifer sent her 13-year-old daughter, Maddie Soto, off to sleep with Stephan Sterns on Sunday night. Sunday, the night before she disappeared. She disappeared on Monday, February 26th. Bedroom number 4 is very important, and any evidence that detectives, investigators can glean from that bedroom will be very important. So more on that report later. It was just a great birthday present for me when I was watching Stephan Sterns appearing in court today, April 22nd, 2025, 11:15. Thank God for these different entities that stream it. What is it? WKMG Orlando.
Okay, so I'm going to switch things up a little. She's giving a little more introduction. I should have watched it. I didn't remember she gave so much of an introduction because, new logo, by the way. Thank Honey Bun for that. One of our head moderator here. She created that. I love it too. And thanks for saying so, Veronica. And thank you so much, Honey Bun. So listen, one of the issues that the defense raised regarding Stephan Sterns' case is that his phone was taken, without his consent. They are trying, in saying this, to get all the phone evidence, the evidence that was found on his phone, which is much of the CSAM material, removed from the trial that will be allowed. The evidence will be allowed in the trial, saying that Detective Tigler did not properly obtain this evidence. So she kind of got grilled and cornered a bit in court. So let's just listen to a little bit of what went down with Detective Tigler. If you haven't yet put a name to the face, this is Detective Tigler here, the woman that talked to Stephan Sterns outside of the home when she said, can I look at your phone? Does your phone connect to the Google Drive? No, it doesn't. Oh, well, can I look at your maps? I didn't map it. Well, can I look at this? Can I look at that? Many of you probably heard how that went down. This is her response to the questions that were asked by Stephan Sterns' attorneys in court just the other day.
Last name Tagler. The Orange County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been with the Sheriff's Office?
9 years.
In February of 2024, what was your assignment?
I was assigned to the sex crimes unit.
Are you still assigned to that particular unit now?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been in that unit?
Years and 2 months.
Were you working in your capacity as a detective in that unit on February 27th, 2024?
Yes.
Did you become involved in the investigation into the missing juvenile named Madeline Soto?
Yes.
How did you become involved?
I was tasked to assist the primary detective at the time, Detective Hunt, with canvassing.
About what time do you respond to assist in the investigation?
It was about 4 p.m.
And this was on February 27th.
Yes.
And where is the initial location where you responded to?
It was in Hunters Creek,
Did you respond to a residence in Hunters Creek or somewhere else?
somewhere else.
Did you respond to the command post?
Yes.
When you get to the command post, do you learn any information regarding the investigation?
Yes.
What information do you have after leaving the command post? What information did you get?
I was advised of we have LPRs, which is tag readers, and I was advised of the direction of travel that Stephan's vehicle had traveled the day of the incident.
Were you aware on this date and time that Madeline Soto had not gone to school on February 26th?
Yes.
Were you aware that she had not been seen since the morning of February 26th?
Yes.
And the information regarding the tag reader, did law enforcement identify the tag that was on a vehicle that the defendant had access?
Yes.
And what was some information that you got regarding the location of the defendant's vehicle on the morning of February 26th, the Monday?
He had traveled southbound 3 times on South Jungin Parkway towards Kissimmee, which was away from the direction of Madeline School.
Are all of these times early morning and late morning?
Both.
And then did you also get some information that in the afternoon, the car was traveling in and out of St. Cloud?
Yes.
Specifically, the travel on southbound South John Young Parkway, were those times consistent with what the defendant had described to law enforcement as his location were?
They were not.
And were these, the initial time was around 8:15 in the morning?
I believe it was 8:10.
And then there was another one around 10 o'clock in the morning?
Yes.
And then almost around noon.
Yes.
Thank you. Overruled as to leading. I've got a question. Times that you just gave were for identifications of the tag.
And then the afternoon times of going in and out of St. Cloud, do you recall what those were?
I do not.
Did you document those times and locations in?
I'm sorry, I would just like to say, sorry for pausing in the middle here, but I've heard some people comment saying that Stephan Sterns, now with his new haircut, looks like a big toe. And I'd just like to tell you that I agree. He looks very much like a big toe.
Your narrative that you dropped?
Yes.
Was looking at your narrative to assist in helping you remember the specific time that the vehicle traveled in and out of St. Cloud?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm approaching the witness for the record with Detective Tagler's 11-page narrative.
Thank you. I'm looking at page 4.
Does page 4 help refresh your memory as to the times that the vehicle was picked up on the tag reader going in and out?
Yes.
What times was it traveling towards or into St. Cloud?
It says eastbound on US 192 and Pecan Street at 13:05 hours, and westbound on US 192 and Academy Drive at 14:23 hours.
And you were equipped with this information at the time that you responded and met with Mr. Sterns?
Yes.
Were you aware as to who the last person to have seen Madeline Soto alive or have seen her was?
Yes. Stephan Sterns.
Was that consistent throughout a lot of law enforcement interviews that were conducted?
Yes.
After you get this information and your task is to assist in the investigation, what's the next thing you do?
Detective Acosta and I respond to Kissimmee to their residence, and we meet with Detective Hunt.
When you say their residence, are you referring to Miss Jennifer Soto and Madeline Soto's residence?
Yes.
That would be on the Santa Maria Drive.
Yes.
When you get to the address, who is there?
Detective Hunt is there. There's other patrol deputies on scene, and Jennifer and Stephan.
Is there law enforcement conversing with either Jennifer Soto or Stephan Sterns?
Not at the time.
Who is the first person that you speak with?
Detective Hunt.
Does Detective Hunt relay information that he obtained during an interview with the defendant to you?
Yes.
What information do you recall receiving prior to your interaction with him?
He stated that he had spoken to Stephan and Jennifer, and to his knowledge, Madeline had not made it to school, that Stephan had dropped her off near the school, and that they were supposed to go to McDonald's, but they didn't. And then he watched her walk towards the direction of the school, and then he went home.
Did you receive at that time any information about the sleeping arrangements on February 25th of 2024, the night before?
Yes, Detective Hunt told me that Madeline and Stephan had slept together in room number 4 because Jennifer needed to get more rest that morning.
Equipped with this information, did you come into contact with Stephan Sterns?
Yes.
How did you know who was Stephan Sterns? And how to find him in the area?
Detective Hunt pointed him out.
Okay, so I'm going to pause this here, and I'm just going to kind of give you the rundown. You know, I think that Stephan Sterns' defense did a good job of sort of cornering her. I was watching another channel. I'm taking this from the channel Police Off the Cuff Now. Great channel. Definitely check them out. I was also watching True Crime with Strategic Eyes, who is a detective, a veteran detective, talking about this. And, you know, he felt what he had to say about it was, I should have actually pulled up his stream so you could hear in his own words, but essentially what he said was, you know, does he think that this evidence is going to get thrown out? He does not. You know, he said, you know, he made it very clear that, man, I'm definitely not on the side of this guy. You know, I support, you know, this detective and all the efforts that law enforcement is putting forth. The way he put it is, you know, if, you know, in any profession or anything we do, we have to understand the idea of best practices. So best practices would be to get the verbal consent, to double down on the consent, to say, do you understand that you're giving consent? And then to have it all put in writing. So it, of course, needs to be recorded on an audio recorder or body-worn camera. But then, of course, best practice is going to be also to get that written consent. So there is absolutely no question. Now, of all of the law enforcement and legal minds that I've heard talk about this issue, not a single person said, I think this evidence is going to get thrown out. I do not think it's fruit of the poisonous tree. I think it's just as Strategic Eyes put it. It's a matter of were best practices put into use, or did she legally obtain that phone and what was on it? Not by the means of best practices. She is sort of a rookie detective. She actually is kind of a rookie investigator. You know, a lot of people on this particular like law enforcement team were, which is kind of interesting. So, you know, here's a lesson for everyone to learn, right? So that's the outcome of that. So I don't want anybody to get nervous. Oh my God, I was muted that whole time. Damn, guys, I hate it when I do that. All right, I'm sorry about that. So sorry about that. All right. So I just wanted to pause it here. I'm just going to try to say what I was just saying again. Yes, justice for Maddie. Absolutely. This is what it's all about. Is I don't want anybody to get nervous thinking, that the evidence from the cell phone is going to get thrown out. Nobody that I have heard talk about that in the law enforcement field or legal mind thinks it's actually going to happen. Now, I was also watching on the channel True Crime with Strategic Eyes, who is the creator of it, is a veteran detective. He was commenting on, the way that the cell phone was obtained in this case by Detective Tyler right here. And he says, also, he does not think by any means that the evidence obtained on Stephan Sterns' cell phone is going to get thrown out. He said, really for him, it's an issue of best practices. Best practice being, saying, getting the consent, getting the specific consent for what it is you're going to look at on that phone, say in this case, confirm that the party understands that they have given consent and specifically what they have given consent to. And then, of course, to get that consent in writing. The consent initially is going to be, has to be recorded either on an audio device or by body worn camera. But then again, the best practice is going to be for, the detective in this case to also get that consent in writing. So there aren't questions that are going to come back to law enforcement in court is the case here. Certainly the defense here is, I really believe they are just doing their job. I look at it like this, defense attorneys, it's easy to kind of be like, oh man, I don't know if I like you. How could you be defending this dog, Stephan, whatever the fuck his name is, Sterns, because we don't care how you say his name. Yes, guys, innocent until proven guilty. But I think, he was just such a fool in this case. The evidence that we see before us already has told most of us it is clear beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is at least guilty of being in possession of all of that horrific CSAM and abusing Madeline in that regard for, at least 4 to 5 years. Okay. So, but, the defense attorneys really are defending the Constitution, and they are defending the whole process of justice that all of us in the United States and most countries in the free world have the privilege of living under. So, I try to look at it like that, and not just feel some hate towards the defense attorneys. But again, nobody that I've heard talk about this truly thinks that this evidence is going to be thrown out. So I just wanted to clarify on that. So now she was just talking about here, the initial story that was given to her by Jenn Soto and Stephan Sterns. So I think this is a good time to kind of just shift gears a little bit here and take a look back at the script that Jenn Soto and Stephan Sterns were, theoretically reading from. They weren't really reading, but in a myriad of interviews that they gave either by themselves or together to either reporters or law enforcement, you're going to see very clearly that they had a script that they must have agreed on and decided to, rehearse, repeat, and repeat again. And what does that mean as far as justice for Madeline goes, and also Jenn Soto's potential culpability or guilt in the horrible things that happened to Maddo somehow. Now, we know that she has not been charged to date. And I said at the beginning of this case, if she does not get charged, I personally in this channel are going to have to get behind some initiative to make sure that the laws change in Florida. So a parent that was supposed to be protecting their child, or a guardian that's supposed to be protecting a child, as she was with Madeline, will not be allowed to subject that child to what she allowed under her care for years for Madeline to be subjected to. And I have been working on that. And I'm going to talk to you about that at the end of this live stream. I'm going to bring into the stream now just some clips from the various interviews that Jenn Soto and Stephan Sterns did over a short period of time, shortly after Maddie went missing and then was learned to had been murdered.
Well, Monday morning, we took her to school. We dropped her off close to school, across the street from a church, which is it's right next to the school. She crossed the street.
I'm going to go right back to the beginning. I think every word here is important.
Jen, go ahead and tell us what's going on with Maddie.
This was the first interview that was given by Jenn Soto to Fox News 35 shortly after Maddie went missing.
Well, Monday morning, we took her to school. We dropped her off close to school, across the street from a church, which is it's right next to the school. She crossed the street. and walked to school, what we thought walked to school. My boyfriend who drove her to school drove away at that point. It was seen on video footage that she hung out in the parking lot of the church for a few minutes and then got up and walked towards the school. But she never made it that walk and that was around 9 a.m. when she got up. She never made it to school after that. It's right next to the school. I don't know why she didn't make it. I don't know if something happened on her walk along the way or if she got taken, but she never made it.
And that was the last anyone's seen of her or heard from her?
Yes. I went to pick her up after school, and she wasn't there. So I started driving around, maybe thinking she took a walk. Maybe she decided to walk to my mom's office, which is pretty close to the school as well. Drove around and I didn't see anything. I drove back to the school. The school was closed. I emailed one of her teachers. They confirmed that she was absent all day. At that point is when I called 911 because I realized something was truly wrong.
Have you heard from like any of her friends? Has she been active on any social media?
She hasn't been active on social media, none of her chats, none of her games. We did contact all her friends. None of them had seen her Monday or heard from her. Yeah, there's no update.
And I have to ask this, and I know I hate doing it, but is she the type that would run away? Has this happened in the past or anything? Has she ever threatened to run away?
Never. She's never ever mentioned anything like this before, and she's not the type to want to do this. She did accidentally leave her phone on Monday, which is kind of normal for her. She's got ADHD and very forgetful. So she left her phone at home, so there's no way to trace her. They tried tracing her school laptop, but that's off, so it's not pinging to anything.
Jenn, what is your fear? I know you mentioned she's on games and stuff. Do you think she could have like met somebody and tried to meet up with them?
She's open to us. She's open with us about, if she's got a crush with anyone, and she told us she had a crush on someone at school. And I looked at their messages. Nothing was weird. I looked at all of her messages, all of her deleted messages. Nothing seemed weird. It didn't seem like she was talking to anyone. So I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like she may have been taken, because this is not like her at all to just disappear and not let us know where she's going or who she's with. Yeah.
What are you getting from law enforcement? Are they actively searching for her? I mean, what happens now? I mean, especially that she doesn't have her phone with her.
So as far as I know, they're conducting a search around the school. Behind the school, there's a Shingle Creek. There's a wooded path area that you could walk. It's a hiking path. They are going back there with their canine dogs. They've taken a piece of her clothing to see if they can trace her scent. They're also taking their own vehicles. I'm not sure what type of vehicles, but they're going into the woods to search for her. But I don't feel like that's going to find anything right now. We've had people all day on that trail sending us photos to see if anything there looks familiar and like her personal belongings, and nothing is hers.
Now, guys, that statement right there is just so very problematic, as you may have heard other people point out, and this is certainly true. When parents or people who love somebody who is missing, that child's actually missing and they don't know anything about it, they're going to hold out hope at all costs. They're not going to say, oh, we've looked here, we've tried these avenues, but I don't think that's going to turn out anything. Like, that is simply not, this is a fact-based, evidence-based, tried and true statement. That is not how people who are not involved in whatever caused a child to be missing are going to act. So now, before we go on to compare what she's saying here with some other statements that she and Stephan Sterns have made, let me just bring into the stream a little bullet point list. Just based on statement analysis, how we can tell if somebody is lying or if they're being truthful. Please don't sign me up. Thank you. So I just pulled this one up because it's just a nice bullet pointed list. This is all completely accurate. Anything you're going to look into regarding Human psychology and deception is going to tell you the exact same thing. Being vague and offering few details, or on the flip side, it can be too detailed, offering a copious amount of details, many of which simply do not matter to the fact at hand. Repeating questions before answering them, repeating the same story over and over, speaking in sentence fragments, explaining things in strict chronological order. Are these sounding familiar? Sounding like they are repeating a rehearsed script. Failing to provide specific details when a story is challenged. Failing to give straightforward responses to a simple yes or no question. Grooming behavior, such as playing with their hair or pressing fingers to lips or anywhere on their body, actually is the same as pressing the lips. We know that through research as well. Physical changes that indicate fight or flight response, like increased sweating, muscle tension, restlessness, and fidgeting. Very interesting, don't you think? So I'm going to bring the interview segments back into the stream. Thank you guys for being here. Welcome to those of you coming in. Please let us know where you're from if you're new to chat, especially, and we're glad you're here.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where to go from here. I'm just contacting the news to get the word out, to get some help, because I'm desperate. I'm a wreck right now.
We know you're desperate, honey.
So you think that she's been taken against her will?
I do think so, yes.
As a mom, what's your mother's intuition telling you right now?
I'm trying to hope for the best, but I'm scared for her. I want her to be okay, and I want her to be safe. I don't want her to come back harmed. I just want her back, whatever that means. I just want her back.
And she did say there, just to clarify, I've listened to it so many times, and from every source you can find that recording, she does say, I don't want her to come back home. I just want her to come back. Whatever that means, I just want her to come back. Like, what?
Hey there.
Hey there. What's going on?
So, was dropped off close to school this morning, but never made it. I went to pick her up from school.
I'm sorry, one second.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Now, just notice how right here she launches out and launches right into the script, right into the narrative, launches right into it every time, just in the fashion that we read through those bullet points, indicators of deception, chronological order, reading from a script, same thing, exact, time after time, speaking in sentence fragments, not giving the complete relevant details, and filling in the story with a lot of fluff details that simply don't matter. If your child is missing and you really don't know what's going on, you're not going to do that. You're going to help law enforcement get to the core of the matter as swiftly as possible. Again, this is not my opinion. This is evidence-based, tried and true fact, proven over time again and again from case studies of people that really did have missing children and people who reported missing children that were later learned to have been deceptive.
Are we looking for another kid or we have a kid?
Looking for another one.
Alright, so people are still on the scene, let's put that out in the hospital location. How long?
I'm trying to get there right now.
Absolutely.
Okay. So she was supposed to be dropped off at school, didn't make it to school.
Didn't make it to school. I went to pick her up from school today,
Okay.
and she never came out. They announced it over the speaker, and I'm just like, maybe she walked here, because sometimes she'll walk here to this office.
Mm-hmm.
I came here, nothing. I went back to the school, they were closed. I got an email from the school saying she was absent, but I also messaged her teacher, and he looked at her entire attendance today and saw that she was completely not at school today either.
Okay.
So she never made it.
Okay. What's her name?
Madeline. Madeline.
Black shorts. All right. Do you know if she has like friends in the area?
She does, but she doesn't know where they live.
She doesn't know where they live. Okay.
I asked all of them.
Okay. Is this like, does she like have any places that you guys know that she'll usually be at? Any friend's house? Any places that like she likes to hang out?
Not typically, no.
No.
Not typically? Okay. Just give me 1 second. Let me see if I get some.
Thank you.
No problem. And what school she goes to? 125. Do you guys have Do you have a picture of her? Can you airdrop it to me?
Yeah, I know. Let me see which picture. I don't know which picture.
Like you recently, probably from a birthday party, right?
Yeah, but I wasn't there, so I have to look at what's up.
Did she go to school today?
No.
No. Okay.
She was supposed to.
She was
dropped off close to school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way because
Oh, so again, here we are, going to another initial interaction, initial encounter with law enforcement, and she launches out right into that script, chronological order. All the same criteria that I just repeated are met again, essentially verbatim.
she was embarrassed by his car.
Okay.
Which is normal for her to ask to be.
It's an image thing.
Right.
It's an image thing.
But she never made it. I went to the school to pick her up at the end of the day, and she never came outside. I drove away thinking maybe she walked to my mom's office because sometimes she'll do that if I can't pick her up. And my mom's office is less than, what would you say, half a mile away?
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
Something like that.
She would get there. School ends at 4:04. She would get there by 4:35 the latest. She never got there by 4:35. I started driving around. I went back to the school. The school was closed.
Melissa screamed she could maybe walk to her grandma's house, but that's a lot further.
When the school was closed, I realized something was wrong. I called and I said, "Hey, did you see Maddie today? Or is she with you? Because I can't find her." And she said, "No, she never made it to first or second period." And I said, "What do you mean? I dropped her off at school." And she's like, "She never made it to school." And I said, "Can you please check with the rest of your friends, see if she made it to any of her other periods?" At this point, I messaged her teachers directly, and I asked if any of them saw her. 2 of them responded to me. One of them told me she didn't make it to his period, and he also checked her attendance for the rest of the day. She never made it to any of her periods. This is when I knew something was truly wrong because she was dropped off by him close to the school. She should have been at the school. At that point, that's when I called 911. This was around 4:35, 4:40. Police did not show up till 7:30, I want to say.
Up in Orange County?
Up in Orange County.
Okay.
And then at that point, that's when all the questions started happening. And then he took them to where he dropped her off.
Oh, was that the end of that already? Oh, yikes. Okay, just one moment here. Okay, let me bring that down. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, gotcha.
Madeline.
Another segment. Hold up. Wait a minute here. All right, I'm bringing up something else for you. I was just getting that ready. Just give me 1 second. And if anybody wants to come up on panel and discuss, what the topic at hand here, I'm just going to drop the link to panel in the chat for you guys. Okay. All right, there you go. And just give me just one moment here. Sorry about that. Let's see. Okay. Now I'm going to play something from a creator that I just recently found. The creator is Grish, Grish. I'm going to link this video in the description for sure because I'm really enjoying this person's content, and I'm going to play a significant amount of this video. And this video that he created is based on that interview that we just listened to part of. Well, the one I'm speaking about, where they're standing in the doorway of the Soto residence. And, Stephan Sterns is just kind of like lurking over Jenn in the doorway. This just big, dark, like ape-like bestial figure. I think he did a really, really great job putting this together, analyzing this. And he also, I think, was the first person who was able to, just kind of clarify the video enough at the end to see what the messages that Jenn Soto was holding onto her phone with this like kung fu grip, but showing law enforcement. It was a message from Madeline to a friend. He was able to figure out what that said because many people have been trying to figure that out for a while. So I'm going to bring that into the stream right now. Please do enjoy. He did a great job. I'd love to know what you think, and definitely go check out his channel.
So between 7:30 and 8 o'clock on Monday, February 26th, Jenn files a missing person report for her daughter, Madeline.
4 hours later.
The police are back and they're seemingly making an unannounced visit to Jenn and Stephan's house. One of the first things I notice is that the body cam footage starts when the officer is already out of the car and walking up the sidewalk. In the footage from 4 hours prior to this, it starts well before the police officer parks and gets out the car. That can mean anything, but watch this. At this point, Stephan's car will be directly behind the police officer to the left. So being that the police officer is shining his flashlight through all the other cars in the lot, it makes me feel as though before the body cam started recording, they may have looked in Stephan's car a little bit more than they want the body cam to show in the future. Another thing that I noticed is that the audio doesn't start until 30 seconds into the video. The white car there is Jenn Soto's Nissan. And one other thing the police officer does is he blocks his body cam for a whole 10 seconds before knocking on the door. This is my opinion, but I think one of the reasons why the police just showed up like this is so that they can just check Jenn and Stephan's temperature to see how they would react when they're not given any heads up notice and the police just show up. I also think that Jenn's parents were suspicious of her and Stephan from the very beginning, and they made the police aware of that without Jenn and Stephan noticing. Right after the police were done interviewing Jenn and Stephan here, they went over to Jenn's sister's house and talked to Juan Soto. And you know, Juan Soto was in the car that's in front of the cop right here. And I know that because if you looked a little closer, you would have seen Juan outside the office.
Hello.
Hi.
Are you Madeline's mom?
No.
No. Are you Madeline's mom?
Yes.
Did she come home? Did she come home?
I know how people joke around calling Jenn Soto a potato, but the potato thing is really what you get when you are part of the Xandemic. Your face will be bloated out, drying. Please educate yourself on skin.
Xandemic meaning that you take too much Xanax, which I believe he's spot. Xandemic meaning you take too much Xanax, and I think Grish is spot on here.
Care and medication. It's insulting to claim things that you aren't versed in. Oh, and believe my skin is perfection. My family is known for it. The rest of the comment, you can pause and read it if you want. It's about what Jenn Soto's saying, but we're going to go back on needing to educate myself on skincare and medication and how I'm insulting to people because I'm claiming things that I'm not versed in. I want you to look at Jennifer Soto's face. This was taken on February 27th. This photo was taken on February 27th as well. It was part of the news segment. And this is a few years earlier, I presume. What do you think caused that? Right, I need to educate myself on skincare and medication. What does Xanax do to your face? Exploring the physical effects of Xanax misuse on skin, appearance, and overall health. Common side effects occur that can have a noticeable impact on the body and skin. We're skimming through this, so healthy skin requires both hydration and blood flow. Since it makes people sleepy, it can also cause fluid retention that leads to dark under eye circles and facial and overall puffiness. When a person deals with dehydration and fatigue, their skin can also look dull. There are a lot of side effects that come with this stuff. So dark under eye circles, overall puffiness in their face, skin looking dull. Who does that sound like? Of course, we need to cite our source, and that's the Illinois Recovery Center. We're going to educate ourselves and cite one more source.
Now, why is it important, you might ask, when he's talking about the Xandemic and the possibility of, Jenn Soto being, addicted to Xanax? Well, people have problems, addiction. I keep doing that. Sorry, my son is gaming in the other room and he's really loud, so I keep muting myself. So I just want to highlight why this is important. The fact that Grace here is talking about Jenn Soto maybe taking too much Xanax. People have problems and addictions, and I'm not, faulting people as a whole for that by any means. Life is hard, man. People do what they do. They struggle through, and there's trials and tribulations, right? But I made a video a long time ago is like called Stephan Sterns, Follow the Money. And I still believe this to this day, that a huge component of this crime had to do with illicit drug use and procurement. And that is why I think that he's hitting it on the money here. And that is so important to the case. Oh, Pepper's backstage. I'm just going to bring Pepper up and see what she'd like to say. Hey, Pepper, how are you doing?
Hey, girl, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good. Yeah, this place is like horrible. Seems like the worst. So,
Oh, yeah.
there's,
Absolutely.
there's no way. It will take God convince me. And yeah, I know in the court of law she's innocent or whatever till proven, and it doesn't even matter if she's not there. I don't know if she ever will be.
Uh-huh.
But if it was like one mom in the world, I could have her head on a platter, it would be her.
I totally agree. Here, I'm going to keep playing this if you want to hang up here while we're watching
Yeah.
this. Have you seen Grace before?
I'm sorry?
Have you seen his creator before?
Oh, yeah, I've been watching this stuff like the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he does a
Following
great
him, like
job.
he does a really good job.
Yeah, he does.
His illustrations are cool too.
Blistering, crusting, irritation, itching, and reddening of the skin, cracked skin, redness of the skin, blistering, loosening of the skin, peeling, red skin lesions, yellow eyes or skin, more crusting and blistering, scaly skin, cracked and dry skin. Sounds horrible. All this other stuff, redness of the skin. Read that. That's a lot of stuff going on with this. Now, who's our credible source? I think they're pretty credible over at Mayo Clinic. Okay, back to the body cam.
You don't know where she would have gone. No. Did she take anything? Any clothes?
Her birthday money is.
The police officer asked her, did she take anything, any clothes? Jen doesn't answer, and Stephan goes right into birthday money. We know why Jen and Stephan can't answer that question, but there is clothing that did leave the house, and it left in Stephan's hand and into the dumpster. It was in Madeline's backpack. I made a video about it a few months ago. Madeline Soto's black hoodie. This hoodie was in the garbage, in Madeline's backpack, and it was still clean. It was size small, and it had not been worn before. And I know it hadn't been worn before because I design and print merch full time. And I know when people try to bring me stuff that they've already worn and ask me to print on it. This is a size small hoodie, and Madeline's the only person in that house that can wear a size small. And I noticed a very weird design on the front of this hoodie. I zoomed in on the photo, I sharpened the image, I vectorized it so you guys can see the detail in it. At first glance, it looks like a basketball player attempting to dunk a basketball. But if you look a little bit closer, you'll see something else. It looks like another basketball player, a smaller basketball player with blonde hair that is about to get dunked on by the larger player in the black jersey. I'm surprised that no one has and still hasn't brought this hoodie up in any YouTube videos. Because to me, it's obvious that this symbolizes Stephan Sterns and Madeline Soto. I even connected This image to Jen's weird sleeping arrangements, the way she explained that in our March 1st interview. How Madeline wakes up and under Stephan's arm in the nook, as
Yeah.
she says.
So gross.
I appreciate all honest feedback. You might not see this all too often on YouTube, but I can accept criticism and I admit when I'm wrong. But when it comes to knee-jerk dismissals, I'm not the one for it. This comment was posted on my video about the black hoodie. I find that a lot of true crime creators don't have the same approach and instead look at everything as an insidious conspiracy, trying to connect a comment made during a police interview to a generic-looking ugly shirt print to an abstract representation of how Stephan viewed and treated Maddie is insane and unfalsifiable speculation. The sweatshirt is only creepy because it came from this case. Otherwise, nobody would have cared about the print. This is confirmation bias of hindsight, not evidence of a print with a dark message. Insane and unfalsifiable speculation in italics. If you agree with this person, let me ask you a hypothetical question. Would you think you would change your mind if there were two hoodies in the dumpster, one black and one gray, both size small with the same exact design? Say it's a kid's birthday and they get a present. They open a present and there's two hoodies inside, one black and one gray, and they're both blank. It would be safe to say the kid needed some new hoodies, right? It's a kid's birthday. They get a present. Inside the present, there's two hoodies, one black and one gray, but they both have the same exact design on them. That doesn't mean the kid doesn't need hoodies, but the person that gave them the hoodies wants them to wear that design. Another way to look at it is if a kid gets two different color hoodies and they have the same NFL team logo on the front. It's about the NFL team. It's not so much about the hoodies themselves. Now back to my insane, unfalsifiable speculation and confirmational bias in hindsight. Gifts like these are a common grooming tactic, and people like Stephan Sterns give symbolic gifts to their victims. They need to as a way to hide their secrecy through normalcy, and gifts like these give them a feeling of a symbolic bond. Gift giving is used to gain trust and compliance. Gifts often take the form of clothing or personalized items that subtly reflect the offender's taste. That's from the Department of Justice, Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. Offenders.
You know, and this is so correct here. I just want to say this is all a part of grooming. I think he just so accurately pointed out some nuances that I don't really think anybody noticed. And I just unmuted you, Pepper. Do you have anything to say?
No, I'm just like following the whole thing. I'm sorry, I was
Yeah.
wrapped up in chat for a second.
Yeah, no. Oh, and Cuff, you, by the way, I saw you're trying to come up. It says for me, device not connected. So if you could try to hop off and hop back on again, I very, very much want to hear from you. I sometimes that just happens. So if you could try that, that would be amazing.
Are you still getting feedback from me?
No, I'm not. I'm not. No.
Okay, all right.
But you're a little quiet though, but I can hear you, but a little bit quiet if you could talk a little louder.
Okay, all right.
You're good. But you know what? I'm actually going to keep playing this because my son is being a little loud, so I can mute my mic for a second, but I'll pause it.
All right.
All right. Thank you, honey.
May use symbolic gifts to create a shared identity or connection. They often ritualize interactions or gifts, creating repeated themes, including matching or similar clothing. The author of that article is a retired FBI agent in the Behavior Analysis Unit. And I included a link so you can go read up on that. Really, it's not so much about the comment, but I'm thinking how that dismissive ass mindset would manifest in real life. Because I wasn't speaking hypothetically about the gray hoodie. It's actually in evidence. But there's only one close-up photo of it, and it's of the tag in the front part of the hoodie. So you can see that it's a size small, and I can just line up the design to the black hoodie and show you that they match. If Stephan wasn't smart enough to plant symbolism, then why did he care enough to make sure both hoodies were in the dumpster? Why didn't he just toss old clothes or something actually used? These were brand new, they were never worn, and they're the only items he threw in the dumpster that remained clean. When Jenn and Stephan are giving police their scripted story, but they can't answer whether or not Madeline took her clothes with her, it's because this is what they were doing when they were rehearsing that script.
You don't know where she would have gone. No, did she take anything? Any clothes?
Her birthday money is still here. Toothbrush.
Like I said, they don't say anything about clothes, but Stephan talks about toothbrush and birthday money. Like, think about this for a second. If you're a 13-year-old girl planning to run away or stay somewhere else for a while, there are a few things you definitely would take with you: your phone, your toothbrush, and a change of clothes. And if you just had a birthday, you're definitely not leaving without your birthday money. Leaving behind one of these things could be brushed off, but all of them, you don't leave with no clothes, no toothbrush, no phone, and leave your birthday money behind unless you weren't planning to leave or you never had the chance. Back to Stephan mentioning Madeline's toothbrush. It reminds me of something Jenn said in her derivative use immunity interview.
I can't remember
You
if
brush
she
your
had
teeth in the shower.
finished with all of her bedtime routine.
Okay. Does she brush her teeth at night?
In the shower.
In the shower? Okay.
So Madeline brushes her teeth in the shower at night. Madeline showers at night. Madeline doesn't shower in the morning. Does Madeline brush her teeth in the morning? Showering and brushing teeth are not mutually exclusive. Madeline brushes her teeth when she showers, but Madeline doesn't have to take a shower in order for her to brush her teeth. Jenn never said she heard Madeline get up in the morning to take a shower. She never heard Stephan take a shower in the morning either. Stephan never said anything about Madeline getting up and taking a shower in the morning. Nor did Stephan say he took a shower in the morning. Stephan just said Madeline's toothbrush is still there. Still where?
In the shower with Maddie. Wow.
The electric toothbrush is surrounded by a lot of the cosmetic items. That's most likely Jenn's toothbrush. There are no other toothbrushes on the bathroom counter. There are 2 toothbrushes in the shower. Madeline took a shower before Jenn got home. Stephan did not take a shower after Jenn got home, nor did he take a shower Monday morning. I think there's a pretty good chance that Stephan and Madeline were in the shower together. In one of Stephan's interviews with police, I can't remember which one, but he talks about the last time he changed his clothes and took a shower. The police can probably figure that out if that actually took place by just going by what Stephan told them, and then get a subpoena to the Kissimmee Utility Authority to get their time of use data. They have smart meters over in this building that read out every 5 to 15 minutes so they can detect when you're using certain things at certain times. After you shower, if you have long hair, you would use one of these, a blow dryer right on Stephan's nightstand with a hair tie right next to it. And then in Jenn's derivative use immunity interview, she says stuff like this.
And when you get home, who is downstairs, if anybody? Do you have a 2-story? Is it a townhome? Is that the best word for it?
Yes.
If anybody is downstairs, who is downstairs?
I saw my daughter Madeline and Stephan.
Do you recall what Madeline was wearing?
No.
And do you recall what Stephan was wearing?
I can't tell you no.
Maybe Jenn can't recall what Madeline and Stephan were wearing because they weren't wearing anything. In my opinion, I think that Madeline was gone by 10:15 p.m. on Sunday, February 25th. And since 10:15 p.m. until the time that this body cam footage was filmed, these 2 people have been on a cover-up mission. And this script
What do
is
you
what
think?
they've been constructing during those hours of Sunday night, Monday morning, and Monday afternoon before Madeline was supposed to be picked up from school.
Hey, Kelly. So
Just
is
one
he
Back to the
saying
body
he
cam.
Just one sec. Yeah.
is he
Yes, dear.
so he's thinking that Maddie was gone before Jen ever come home?
Yeah, yeah. And that I guess, would make that does make some sense to me. I'm
That
not
makes a
sure.
lot of sense. It
Well,
makes
this
a
is part
lot
where
of
Chris
sense.
saying, "Oh yeah, we just talked about, all her gifts. We counted all of her
All her
money."
gifts that she didn't get, that she
Yeah.
got cash instead because that's what she wanted.
Toothbrush, everything.
Sorry about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hadn't seen this, so I
No, I think he
I don't
picked
know.
up
I
on
don't
a
know if
lot of these.
I don't think it's ever even crossed my mind that Maddie was gone when she got home. What I have always wondered is why if Maddie was so upset and crying and begging to not go home that night, why they still
Well,
made her
that
go
was
home.
Saturday night when that was happening. Saturday night is when she was really upset, and the grandfather
So it was
called.
the night before the birthday party
That's right.
that
Yeah,
that happened.
that's
Okay.
right. Yeah. And that's also the same night, though, when, Stephan Sterns' father, Chris, was saying that he was also bugging out to the point where he was saying, do you have any anxiety medication? Knowing that, his parents never took anything like Xanax or whatever, that he was like looking for Xanax essentially. And it's really weird that both of those, emotional freakouts by these two people happened on that same night. Like, what is the connection? It seems, that in this case, nothing is really coincidence and there must be some connection, right?
I don't think there's anything in life really that's coincidence. I think
Yeah.
everything it's an action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. So yeah, coincidence has never been my belief in coincidence and never been a strong suit of mine. That just
Yeah.
really bothers me because
Yeah. Especially when you're trying
she
to cover
called
something.
him. She called him to come there. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like she asked him to come help me with May. What, do your dirty work?
Right.
That's what you needed him to come up for? Because she was old enough, she didn't need a freaking babysitter.
Oh, she
She
didn't.
had family close enough by that she didn't need to be there.
That's right.
And that's really what, and I'm sorry, whether,
And
I
we
don't
also
know.
learned in this interview that her sister is literally right around the corner from her, like a
Right.
couple minutes walk away.
Well,
So
actually, I've known that for a bit now. I've known that that's where her sister lived because it. I always found it odd that her sister dropped her off, but then why drop her? Why drop her off if she knew that that Stephen was there? Why leave her there by herself with
yeah. Well, we don't know if she
this?
knew that Stefan was there, but here, let's keep playing this a little bit because it's going to actually talk about some of the questions we're bringing up now.
Okay.
So nothing that she took with her and went somewhere else. Is there any place that you guys think that she would have went? Any friends' houses?
The only friend I could have thought was Sage Ellis, but I think Orange County PD already went to her house and talked to them.
Okay. Well, what's that address? Just so I can make sure they already checked there. So they're trying to look everywhere they can.
Of course.
Of course. That's what he's supposed to say after you say thank you.
First name is Sage, last name Ellis?
Yeah, ELLIS.
Okay.
Let's see if I still have Google Maps pulled up to her address. Let's see.
Did she go to school today?
No.
No. Okay.
She was supposed to. She was dropped off close to school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way because she was embarrassed by his car.
That sounds familiar.
Okay.
Which is normal for her to ask to be.
It's an image.
So she's embarrassed by his car. So she didn't want to be dropped off at school. She wanted to be dropped off like half a block away so she can walk.
Send in this thing, she's in the face.
But he dropped her off half a block away. But she never made it. I went to the school to pick her up at the end of the day, and she never came outside. I drove away thinking maybe she walked to my mom's office, because sometimes she'll do that if I can't pick her up. And my mom's office is less than, what would you say, half a mile away?
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
Something like that.
She would get there. School ends at 4:04. She would get there by 4:35, the latest. She never got there by 4:35. I started driving around. I went back to the school. The school was closed.
Most extreme, she could maybe walk to her grandma's house, but that's a lot further.
When the school was closed, I realized something was wrong. I called Sage and I said, "Hey, did you see Maddie today? Or is she with you? Because I can't find her." And she said, "No, she never made it to first or second period." And I said, "What do you mean? I dropped her off at school." And she's like, "She never made it to school." And I said, "Can you please check with the rest of your friends, see if she made it to any of her other periods?" At this point, I messaged her teachers directly, and I asked if any of them saw her. 2 of them responded to me. One of them told me she didn't make it to his period, and he also checked her attendance for the rest of the day. She never made it to any of her periods. This is when I knew something was truly wrong, because she was dropped off by him close to the school. She should have been at school. At that point, that's when I called 911. This was around 4:35, 4:40. Police did not show up till 7:30, I want to say. Police did not show up till 7:30, I want to say.
What's Jenn looking at? And Stephan's kind of looking over there too. Let's take the angle that Jenn's looking from the door, make purple the vertical, red the horizontal, and then flip it the other way around and make the trajectory that Jenn's looking point toward Jenn. And Jenn has this handicap parking sticker because she's disabled. I'm wondering why Jenn's looking over at her car while the police are right in front of her. It makes me feel like the police are over at her car looking.
Up in Orange County?
Up in Orange County.
Okay.
And then at that point, that's when all the questions started happening. And then he
When the questions started happening, what does that mean?
took them to where he dropped her off, Someone in an outfit she was wearing sit in their parking lot.
What was she last seen wearing?
Green hoodie.
Green hoodie.
White Crocs.
White Crocs.
Either blue or black pants.
I think black shorts.
Black shorts?
Yeah.
Black shorts.
For a little bit, like take a break from her walk, because she was early for school, and then get up and then leave towards the school. That's as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you able to find Sage's address?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I know you guys got a lot going on.
All right. Do you know if she has like friends in the area?
She does, but she doesn't know where they live.
She doesn't know where she live. Okay.
I asked all of them.
Did she take her school laptop with her?
She did.
She did.
They already tried to track it, but unfortunately the unit is completely powered off.
Like, she's got a device only 5 feet on her right now. It's like her school laptop.
Her school laptop, is that trackable?
I don't even know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it should. Well, it should be. Because like if the Wi-Fi is turned on, it'll try to connect to the Wi-Fi. So by like circle here. They're gonna send you a secret.
Oh, okay.
Completely offline. They probably run there whenever you do anything with it.
Okay. She doesn't have any other kind of technology that you guys can track. I'm sure you guys already checked
text,
that.
no nothing.
She
Normally
accidentally,
she has her phone, but she left it at home.
and that is normal for her. She's got ADHD. She's very forgetful. I always have to remind her.
We're kind of forgetful too sometimes.
I believe no. This isn't that.
I wish I could see what's reflecting off her glasses because it's taking way too long for her to find this address.
How you spell that? Let me see that. Gotcha. Now, what's a good phone number for Sage? If you guys have one.
Yeah.
Should have.
I just want to say crafted evidence. I see you back there. And Pepper also, there's like 4 more minutes of this video. I'm just going to finish playing
you're
through it. And
good.
then, oh, good. And then crafted evidence, I'll bring you up too. Oh, well, I can do that right now, actually. Well, I want to bring you up when I can introduce you. So let me just finish playing right through this and then we'll get to chatting.
Okay, no other family in the area except for
Grandma.
The existing family already left at the office and met with the cops.
Yeah.
The only other closest family member is my sister. She lives in the next neighborhood over.
Mhm.
If you were to exit the back gate.
Next door, right over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you exit the back gate, the first neighborhood to your left, it's called Plantation.
Mhm.
She lives in there.
The office too.
Okay.
But yeah, she was in the office helping me with the police, and she was the one who actually went through her phone and her messages and was trying to see if there was anything weird.
Yeah.
We didn't see anything too weird.
Nothing weird. You guys haven't had any recent arguments?
And Jen, there's no way that she just being, a teenager was like, maybe had a fight with you or an argument with you and was like, you know what, I'm going to go hang out at so-and-so's house and teach her a lesson. Could that be a scenario?
I don't believe so. We actually haven't gotten into a fight in like a few weeks
Jen now will show off her deflection skills.
or arguments or anything like that. If anything, on Sunday, she celebrated her 13th birthday with.
You guys haven't had any recent arguments?
Recently, no. Apparently, on February 2nd, she sent a few messages to a friend stating that she would run away.
Mm-hmm.
But it must have been after. From the messages, we must have been arguing, or I must have said something that upset her because she was very upset in her texting with her friend. But
do you guys still have those?
Doesn't look like Jen was ready for that one.
yeah.
You see that? Remember when Angelica was talking about seeing the tools on the table and she didn't remember what the tools were, but she remembered seeing a hammer? Now, that looks like a hammer to me. And the other things, I can't tell what they are, but they're square shape. Makes me think that they're an AC adapter for a cheaper power tool. Angelica also talked about seeing Stephan do laundry and that Stephan never does laundry. So why was he doing laundry this time?
And that's her phone?
This is her phone. I don't know. It's wet. Do you remember who
Starts on the S.
Stephan sounds so stupid trying to act like he doesn't know Madeline's friends' names because he wants to look like he's the one that doesn't remember them the most because he is what he is.
Starts on the S.
I mean, it could be, her name could start with an S, it could start with a C and sound like an S.
No, I'm just trying to see. It's Savannah.
Savannah, yeah. That's what it was, right? A second.
Yeah, this is Savannah. Okay, this is her. See, I don't recall getting in a fight and saying this to her, but sure, we'll say that. I know. I mean, I taught her.
Jen holding the phone rather than letting the cop look through the phone himself is really weird.
This is who you're looking for. This is who you're looking for.
This is who you're looking for. Not me. You. That's crazy. And the way she said it, this is who you're looking for. Man, that is Zandemic. There's a dude I follow on Instagram that's really funny. And he talks about his issues with Zans. And I'll have him give you a demonstration on the Zanny voice.
So everyone and football and just GG's, you know, and maybe even some fucking fucking bars, Monax, or those, bro.
All right, so here, this is almost the end. We're going to be able to finally read, if you haven't seen this yet, what this message from Madeline to her friend says. Do your magic, Reish. It's so hard to see what she says, and I couldn't do it. I mean, like with video editor and stuff. Mom's acting up now, shaking my head. And said, I don't want to live with someone like that. When you're 18, I might kick you out. And I talked all this January and how I wouldn't, but I might. Jen said, well, Maddie's her friend. Like, bitch, how does that make you think you're a good mom? Okay, so again, that's Greesh, and I'm going to bring up crafted evidence. So welcome to panel. Whoops, there's a comment in your face there, crafted evidence. And crafted evidence has a channel I just found. Some of you guys had said, oh my gosh, have you seen this channel yet? And we just like connected. So everybody go check out crafted evidence and welcome. How are you doing?
Hey, just finished a live with Amy and I jumped over here as fast as I could.
Nice.
You guys are awesome.
Awesome. So you said you've been following this case a little bit.
This one, you guys are going to teach me a lot more about.
Yeah, God, I mean, these are all such hard cases, but it really is just such a hard case to talk about. You know, on the outside of this, I just also want to just read some. Well, Brody Richard is in chat, who is a deputy, says in another state, and it's just talking about the issue that we started this live stream with, which are the recent hearings, and Stephan Sterns' defense saying that, you know, they want the evidence taken from Stephan Sterns' cell phone to be thrown out, saying that the cell phone was not taken with consent. Brody Richards is here through the comments, saying it was. I'll read some of the comments. Brody says, but the limited consent he gave was plenty enough to then give them the probable cause they needed. It's a bit tricky because technically they should have gotten a warrant. I personally would have. And I was saying that. I was watching the channel True Crime with Strategic Eyes, who is a veteran detective, and he was saying a similar thing. And he was saying to him, it's a matter of best practices versus still, taking evidence with consent, but not being a matter of best practice, not having in writing, not with a warrant, as you two were saying, Brody. But still, that evidence is definitely going to hold. It is going to be presented in trial. I don't want anyone to get nervous thinking it's not. I haven't heard anyone who's betting the ranch that it's going to be thrown out. Brody goes on to say, therefore, it should be okay, but it's slightly concerning just because she sort of did strong arm him to get the phone, but all legally, the consent led to the probable cause needed. Yeah, that's very consistent with what I've heard and what I tend to believe based on what I was thinking and what more knowledgeable people like yourself have said as well. But they absolutely should have gotten a warrant for the phone. I mean, my understanding is they could have, warrants are now obtained, telephonically and electronically, right? So while she was trying to get that soft consent, I'm going to call it, they could have been getting that official consent with a warrant telephonically or electronically behind the scenes. Her partner, being in the car, getting that telephonic or electronic submission of a warrant. Is that correct, Brody? That's my understanding. It seems like they should have done that to really dot their I's and cross their T's, right? So, yeah, happy to come on the panel anytime. Well, I'll drop you a link if you do want to come now since I'm reading all your comments anyway. But if you're not ready to tonight, yeah, email me. I'd love to have you as a guest sometime. Link to panel. Here you go. All right. So, well, Stephanie or Crafted, what do you guys have to say about what we were just watching?
You guys did an excellent job pulling up that cell
great
phone.
job, like making that visible.
Doing
Like
what?
I don't know how many making
wait.
the message visible.
What's that?
I mean, making the message visible.
Yeah, no, that was all Greece who did that. I tried so
Yeah,
hard to
but
get to that message. That was just amazing. Like, 'cause it's really interesting to see that, what she's saying to her friend, and it tells a lot about, I think it gives us a lot of information about the reality, the truth of the matter versus what the story, the script that Jenn Soto is trying to blow up everyone's butt along with Stephan Sterns. I mean, when you compare these interviews and all the rest, as I was doing through comparing the interviews and some of the work that Greece did here and other people have done, of course, you can see it's so clear it is a script of deception.
oh yeah, absolutely. Because if I don't remember, was it the cop or Jen's sister that first brought up Maddie mentioning running away when she was 13 to the woods or whatever. And
Jen's
like
sister did that, yeah.
right, and so like ever since she brought that up, and Jen didn't instantly say, well, I told her I was sorry. I said something when I was mad. I was wrong. It was none of that. Nothing. It just got turned to, well, we were talking about World War III or some bullshit she came up with.
Right,
And
right.
you know what I'm saying? And just pushed it off on, and that's what, if she would have had any ownership at all about anything ever, it might be possible to believe like a smidgen of what she says, but probably not. Just because she's a fucking potato. Sorry.
Yes, potato head as she is.
Oh my god. Horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I just feel so bad for that lady. She didn't have a chance in hell from the time she didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
She didn't have a chance.
It's very sad. You know what, Cuff you, I want to catch you. I think can you hear me, Cuff you? Say something. I think you might be something.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can, yeah. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good, good, good. So what are your thoughts on this? I'm so glad you're able to come up.
Well, one of the main things I've noticed watching it is what a lurker Stephan is behind her. Like he's controlling her. And the reason I'm saying that is because from my experience, one of my abusers used to do that same thing to me when my mom was standing right there.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry
no, yeah, it's fun, and I'll share more about that with you. But that's one of the main things I've noticed so far with the videos that you've shown. So, and just nothing about her is genuine. I mean, there's just nothing. I don't believe a word she's saying. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said, with him being behind her like that, and her handing him the phone, and then both looking at the phone, and then agreeing about the laptop. It's like it's rehearsed. It's all rehearsed.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you. Now, I do want to say with, the idea of, I think you're definitely hitting on something honest and truthful and that people need to understand here. And that is, the nature of these predators and the way that they do groom and control people, their victims and the people that are around their victims. And that is absolutely accurate. And I'm sure you're going to agree with about what I'm about to say, but I'm just going to say it on behalf of all of us. And hey, John McSmith. Still, as far as Jenn Soto is concerned, that is no excuse for her still completely abandoning her obligation to protect her own child. And if she could not have done that, she needed to do whatever she had to do to make sure that the child was in the protection of somebody else. Because as far as and I'm sure most of the rest of the world is concerned, she completely failed at all responsibilities to protect, to care for, and to nurture that child. And that is the true, absolute tragic nature of this case and why it gets to so many of us. And it's really just a hard thing to discuss, but with some very important legal and humanitarian issues here. Justice for Maddie. It's just such a horrible, horrible situation.
Absolutely.
It really is. And, my mom, you were talking about this earlier too. My mom, do years of therapy. And like I said, you and I will discuss this later before we go into it more. But anyway, my mom did not know. She did not know that I was being abused.
Yeah.
And this was back
Kelly,
in.
I have no audio. I can't hear anything.
Can you hear me, Kelly?
I can hear you, yeah.
I can hear too. You can hear me, Jen? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Go ahead, cuff you. It's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway,
I can't hear cuff you.
My
I can't
mom.
hear. I'm gonna step down.
Okay, Pepper. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I can hear. I'm not sure what the
Okay.
issue is. I'm sorry about that, honey.
No, you're fine. It's okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
So yeah, so my mom did not know, and to me, it's very obvious that Jen did know. She knew. I mean, there's no way around it. You'll never make me believe that. My mom had no idea. I mean, just to give you an example, one of them that was lurking one day while my mom was standing right behind me. My mom didn't know what was going on, and she said, "Give your Uncle Shelly a kiss." And so he kissed me, and he actually put his tongue in my mouth with my mother standing right behind me. And
I'm so sorry.
No, because I've had therapy. I'm good.
I know, but
we're so sorry because that's horrible.
It is. But that's what I'm saying. That's how I know that Jen's not telling the truth. Because my mom, if she'd have picked up on that, that'd be a dead man. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's hiding it. She's defending him. She's hiding him. I mean,
yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry. I got that. That's just part of it. And like I said, Kelly, there's a lot more I want to share for you before we go any further. But I did. That's the main thing I've noticed. It's really bothering me about him. And I know it all comes to light, but oh man, it's just like watching my childhood again when I see that happening.
I hate that for you.
Yeah, really, please. I'm not looking. I don't mean this. I'm not looking for sympathy. I've had years of therapy. Thank God.
Yeah, I'm happy for that for you.
So yeah, I know how to deal with it. And it's a lot easier for me to see things, though, like I'm saying here. So
and be an advocate now too, from your experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And again, just, I just want to read through these, signs of somebody telling a deceptive story, which are the things that we saw from Jenn Soto and Stephan Sterns in their script that came together so not coincidentally being vague and offering few details, or on the flip side, doesn't list it here, but too many and those that are irrelevant, repeating questions before answering them, repeating same story over and over, speaking in sentence fragments, explaining things in strict chronological order, which is the only way that Jenn Soto explained anything, sounding like you're repeating a rehearsed script, failing to provide specific details when a story is challenged, failing to give a straightforward response to a simple yes or no question, grooming behaviors such as playing with your hair, pressing your fingers against your lips, your face, or anywhere else on your body. It's all shown to mean the same thing from a body language perspective, point of view regarding deception and truthfulness, and physical changes that indicate fight or flight response, like increased sweating, muscle tension, restlessness, and fidgeting. And those were, all displayed by both of them. So why would Jenn Soto have a reason to lie when she is telling the story of what happened with Maddie, other than the fact that she was complicit in it, or at least that she knew what was going on and she knew she was guilty of not protecting her own child.
You can totally, even as someone kind of new watching this footage, watching the body language of everyone in that video.
Yeah. Would you pick up
Not
on that?
normal.
Yeah.
Not
No,
normal.
no. Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember anything specific?
You know, you mentioned the hovering, and immediately once you mentioned the grooming, I was like, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's, you're not allowed to be alone more than a few seconds because you might say something, do something to draw attention.
Right.
And he groomed her as well, obviously.
Right.
He groomed Jen, yeah, because like I said, she's just afraid. I feel sure that Maddie was, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, you can tell he's definitely got her under his thumb, and she's afraid. I can tell she's afraid.
Yeah. I think in this, I think, and this is one of the tricky things, because I think, Cuffy, I think you're completely right. I think he definitely did groom her. I think you're completely right in your assessment on that. To me, this is one of the tricky topics in this case, but I think it's also one of the most important to discuss. The fact that, yes, he did groom her, and in that regard, she is a victim of grooming from a predator. But still, even though some people can be groomed and threatened to the point where they're coerced into doing things that they would not normally do because of that grooming from that predator. But with Jenn Soto, I think it's more nuanced than that. Although she was groomed and she was a victim in that regard of grooming, she was also, in my opinion, culpable and
absolutely,
in many ways, of her own daughter's torture, the hell that she lived through, and the abuse she endured, and ultimately the death that she suffered at the hands of a person that this woman willingly let into her life, not just because she was groomed and manipulated by him, but also there is something about her that invited that.
Agreed, 100%. Yep.
I feel also the best groomers do it in a way where you don't even know that you're being brainwashed. And I think this is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And Anaplexa says, and Anaplexa is one of our moderators, and she also she's retired law enforcement, says abusers like him hover. They're trying to intimidate their victims and control what they say. I've seen a lot with domestic violence calls. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I wanted to ask a question about the phone thing. So what I remember watching somewhere on all this information that's out there about this, when she asked him, or when he handed her that phone, I've actually seen the video, and he just hands it to her. Like, take it from him. She doesn't say, you're going to have to give me that, or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Just, I hope that doesn't play a role in anything, because...
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was all. I just hope that doesn't cause any problems with the case.
I think what you pointed out there is really important, because the defense now is wanting to have all the evidence from the cell phone thrown out, because that is the heart of the case. And although he still would be facing those CSAM charges, because there was CSAM thousands and thousands of files on the computer that his dad turned in, a lot of it was on his phone, and the evidence that connects him to, assaulting Maddie and ultimately Maddie's death is on that phone. But what they were talking about when Detective Tigler was testifying in court just the other day is, at some point she actually did physically give him the phone back, and then she handed him again. It was like handed back and forth. So at no point did she take it from him and not allow him to have access to it. I mean, it was very, Stephan Sterns is a fucking disgusting, scum of the earth slug. He just doesn't have a backbone. He's just a mealy little Mickey Mouse voiced piece of shit. And, he wouldn't have, he's not strong enough to just say, no, and he knows what it could mean even to give up his phone. He just can't do that, because there is no substance or strength or anything sincere about him. I think it was like taking candy from a baby, and she did it, and it's fine.
Yep.
She should have gotten warrant. Maybe she should have gotten written consent. She didn't, but again, it's maybe a matter of best practices versus still doing it legally. And so that's just what happened. It will be admitted. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, I hope so, because, oh my God. I mean, I can't even, what you just said, I could like talk for another 30 minutes about what a scumbag he is and like not say every adjective out there. Trust me. You know what I'm saying?
I know. It's like it's a horrible word wisely, right? I know. It's just it's terrible, and then, even then in the, the interviews with her, even after, like the interview, the derivative use interview when she is compelled to be there, but even when she's talking about Maddie, like this is a lot, like a month or so, I believe, after Maddie had died, or even just when Maddie was missing or right after she died in these interviews, it's never like, oh, my baby, we have to find my baby. Oh, like grieving. We see no signs of genuine emotion over the loss or the potential loss of her child. And that to me is just, even from the perspective of behavioral therapists, having dealt with so many pathological personalities and different kinds of responses that people have, it is freaking hard to understand.
Why did they drop her off at the church? That just never made any sense to me either. I'm like, I would never like leave my kid across the street and be like, okay, we're 5 seconds from the school, but I'm gonna drop you here. And you there by. And did the school not call? Don't they call and say, hey, your kid's not here?
Well, apparently that is something at the time, when the day that Maddie wasn't there, you would get a call, but it would be after the end of the school day. They since have changed that.
Yeah, Lord.
I know in New York it's compulsory. It's a law that if your child is not in school, I think it's by 10 o'clock, there has to be notification home. My son's school, you get it like right around 9:30, that your child is not in school, but not in every state that is not necessarily a law. So
that's interesting. Yeah, it goes to an app for us. I'm in Georgia, and I mean they're on it. They'll let you know. Hey, your kid's not here.
But we have to remember this happened in Florida, and we all know about Florida.
Yeah, I'm in Florida, you guys. I'm in Pensacola, Florida.
Oh gosh, guys. Well, you know what? I think we're going at almost 2 hours here. I think I am going to wrap up just because I'm getting a little tired, but I'm so happy to have you guys up on panel. And Cuff, I will definitely. I know I didn't text you my number. I can't email you my number because my one on my computer doesn't work and my phone number has ones in it. But I will text you my number. Cuff, you and I want to do a live stream about the Menendez case upcoming. And again, Crafted Evidence is here with us. And to go check out Crafted Evidence's channel. I just found it. How old is your channel? Tell us a little bit about your channel, Crafted Evidence.
Okay, so mine's it's old. I started it back in 2010, but I did not do crime content then because I was working here in Atlanta as a journalist. And it's just not really appropriate to be talking about crime when you're supposed to remain unbiased.
Yeah.
So I relaunched the channel doing more crime literally a month ago, and it grew. I'm almost to 5K, which is shocking. A lot of people are telling me that's not normal. So I'm like, cool, But yeah, I do a lot of crafting on there. We talk about health, lifestyle, but mainly the true crime.
And you've done some things on the Watts case.
Everyone's into the Watts case, but I also love other cases like, so we definitely have to cover Watts, but I do love the Murdaugh murders, the John Bonet case, the Menendez. I'm doing a lot more research right now on Scott Peterson, obviously, because I'm interested to see what's going to happen with this.
Me too. Maybe we can talk about
finally, now that I'm not working in news, I feel it's appropriate to give my opinions on cases now.
Awesome. Well, that's great. And I just put a link to your channel in the chat here. And again, we're going to do a collaboration sometime. So that's going to be really great. And I'm really excited.
Jen, I'll see you next time on Timeless Mysteries.
Yes.
We're on there together. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I will be emailing you both, and we'll both get together on these different things. And thank you guys so much for coming up on panel.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And everybody who's here tonight, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. We're definitely going to be doing more content on this case on this channel because justice for Maddie is so important. And Brody Richards, one of the things he said, who's a deputy in another state, is that he doesn't believe that charges are going to come forth for Jenn Soto. And I think at this point, that's probably the reality of it. I think I do have to start to live with that. But, again, at the outset of this case, I said that if charges are not brought for Jenn Soto, then it is going to be my commitment, the commitment of this channel, to do the work, whatever is necessary as far as advocacy to make sure that in Florida and in other states, people that allow abuse into their home the way Jenn Soto did. And again, it's a very nuanced situation, so it could be hard legislature, but this cannot continue to happen. So I told you guys right around Christmas time, I was talking with an attorney. It's actually 2 attorneys in the state of Florida who, at the time they told me that they did think charges were going to be coming towards Jenn Soto around Christmas time. They were wrong about that. They since, we've talked about it. They told me why they thought that, which I am not going to share because they've asked me not to, because it is information that I guess I should not be talking about, but it did make sense. But they are also, on board with that effort to get behind some legislation to make sure that people like Jenn Soto, who I think have criminal culpability in this, in what happened to Maddie, that cannot happen again without somebody facing charges. So, more to come on that. But thank you so much for being here. And thank you, moderators. I appreciate you so much. Subscribers, members, please do hit the like. If you're not subscribed, please do, because we definitely want you to come back. And remember, guys, life is hard. Not necessarily as hard for all of us that it was for Madeline Soto. God bless her soul. But please remember, just be kind to one another. And most of all, take time to be kind to yourself because you deserve it. So I'll be having 1 or 2 videos coming out tomorrow. So please look for them. One is on the Watts case, Shanann Watts, and the take of her friends. It has to do with the MLM culture. I hope you guys will find it to be very interesting. And I'm also working on another one on the Idaho case, which will drop tomorrow or Monday. Possibly a live stream tomorrow or Monday. I'm not sure yet. I just had spring break. I was sick with COVID through most of it. So I'm not looking forward to going back to work. I feel like I'm having a break. So I'm not sure about the live streams, but hopefully ring that bell so you'll get the notifications. And if you do want to be on the email list, when live streams are coming up, you can email me at wattsobsession@gmail.com. I'll put it in the chat here. And I do usually send out emails letting you know that a live stream is on its way. And again, look forward to, I'll be doing a collab sometime soon with Crafted Evidence, who you just met here. And Cuffy and I are going to do something on the Menendez case. So that is all coming up. And again, thank you guys so much for being here.